The majority of my best friends all have birthdays directly in line with mine. Seriously, starting with my friend Mason, his birthday is on the 1st of June, and then it's Chad on the 2nd, Aaron on the 3rd, David, Solomon, Ben, mine on the 7th, and then my friend Tate's birthday is on the 8th of June. How crazy is that? I guess we were just all destined to be together. Well, let me tell you guys something. June sucks, because I have to buy all these birthday presents, and it's a real pain.
After her humanities class one day, Melissa asked her professor, Dr. Wolf,
"Do you have wool clothing?"
He went into detail about how he had a wool sweater he once loaned out to someone, and how that someone returned it. After he had informed her it wasn't very common to find wool clothing in the region where they lived, which is in the southern part of the United States, Melissa said to him,
"If you were wool, you'd be a wolf in sheep's clothing."
She was so embarrassed that she told him her dad put her up to it, which he actually did. She apologized for her insolence and went home.
One night, Ramona was sitting in bed with her 4-year-old sister as she slept. Suddenly, Ramona's sister sat straight up in bed, looked over at her and said, "Sissy, the dark man is coming for you," with a straight face. Ramona's sister then broke down in hysterical tears. She kept screaming, "I don't want you to die, Sissy. I don't want you to die." After 15 minutes, Ramona couldn't even talk to her. Her sister cried until she was gasping for air. Finally, her sister calmed down, fell asleep 2 hours later. Ramona, on the other hand, had a little bit of a hard time sleeping.
Doopy was working at a supermarket when a little girl walked over to her checkout line. She asked, "Where are the kittens? Mummy said I could get one if I could find the section where the kittens are." Doopy laughed, but the little girl just stared at her until she realized she was being serious. She tried to explain to the little girl that it was a grocery store and that they don't have kittens, but then the girl started crying. She accused Doopy of lying and said that the store had claimed to have kittens and that she should not lie about it. Then the little girl's mum walked over and started yelling at Doopy for making her daughter cry. Doopy tried to explain, but the mother yelled, "Well then, get kittens," and said she was never shopping there again.
Dolan's bro was great at getting past the school's website filters, so naturally used his skills to watch porn all the time. Normally he managed to get away with it, but one time a teacher asked him to look something up, and he forgot he had porn on the page. So when he opened his browser, our teacher got an eye full of a teenager being fucked. It was classy.
When Pandora was 16, she caught the subway home from school. One day, a guy got on and started playing music through his phone using a Bluetooth speaker. The 3 girls next to him thought this was awesome, and so they started singing along. Pandora figured this would annoy everybody else in the carriage, but to her surprise, everyone around her was smiling and laughing along. A few more people joined in on the karaoke, and then a few more. Before long, every single passenger, including Pandora, was singing along. It was the most fun train ride Pandora had ever had, and it totally made her day.
One day at school, Ladybug was headed toward the staircase which led to the cafeteria. Spinal Palm grabbed her shoulder. He looked like something happened to him. He told her,
"No."
And Ladybug looked at him, confused, and again, he said,
"No."
She asked,
"No what?"
Then he just yelled,
"No, no, 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 no."
Spinal Palm fell to the ground and just whispered, "No." Ladybug tried to help him, but he literally said nothing but no, for what seemed like forever. She helped him up and walked to the cafeteria, still confused.
One night, Andy was chilling on her bed watching some stuff on YouTube. She was putting on her lip balm when she accidentally dropped it down the side of the bed. As she reached under it and felt around, she felt something a little furrier than lip balm. Andy poked her head under the bed to investigate and found 500 baby spiders hatching. She screamed so loud she woke everyone in the house. The proud mommy and daddy spiders were under there too, probably wishing they had some goddamn privacy.
When Doopy was 17, she had a really bad case of laryngitis. All day she had terrible coughing fits that made her want to vomit. Doopy's boyfriend at the time spent all day taking care of her. He even got some medicine and ran a hot bubble bath with candles so she could soak for a while. When she was feeling better, he climbed into the bath with her and they had a long conversation about how much they loved each other. When they finished talking, Doopy's boyfriend was so full of love that he spontaneously popped the question. Doopy said yes, and they had a great romantic night together. Unfortunately, it wasn't long before Doopy's boyfriend started having second thoughts, but instead of telling Doopy that he changed his mind, he decided to just pretend the whole romantic bath proposal never happened. When their friends asked about their engagement, he told them Doopy had made the whole thing up. They ended up breaking up over it, so I guess the lesson there is Don't mix proposals with bath time?
Zaragamba was really excited to get his new phone and his new number, until he started getting calls for Papa John's Pizza. One time, a guy called and said he wanted to carry out large cheese pizza as soon as Zaragamba said hello. When Zaragamba said he was not Papa John's, the guy got mad and started to cuss him out for being rude to a paying customer. Zaragamba said again that he had the wrong number and hung up. That led to dozens of calls and voicemails about reporting him to the police and getting him fired. Eventually, Zaragamba picked up again and said,
What do you want from me?
He said he wanted an apology and a free pizza with store credit and breadsticks. Zaragamba told him again it was the wrong number. The man protested again and recited the phone's number he was trying to call, and it was one digit off from Zaragamba's. Zaragamba said as much and told him to check his caller ID. After a long pause, the man hung up and never called again. When Doopy worked as a waitress at a little coffee shop, she would sometimes get questions from people that didn't know much about coffee, like, "What does 3 shots mean?" One day, a guy came in, and when it was his turn to order, Doopy asked him nicely what he wanted. His response was, "Are your coffee beans grass-fed or organic?" She explained that coffee beans are plants and aren't fed grass. He asked again, "So are they grass-fed or not?" Doopy couldn't get it through to him, so she just told him no, they were not grass-fed. The man then left the shop without ordering. When Pandora was in high school, she and her friends used to buy snacks from a nearby grocery store during recess. One day, they were in the parking lot just outside of the grocery store when 2 of Pandora's friends started fighting. The 2 girls were hitting each other so hard that one of them fell to the ground. Pandora was about to stop them when suddenly this huge, muscular grocery store employee came rushing over shouting. He scooped up Pandora's friend from the floor and held her upside down while he separated them. Then, when they were a few feet away from each other, he flipped Pandora's friend in the air and she landed back on her feet. He then gave the girls a big lecture about why they shouldn't fight. By the end of it, Pandora's friends were laughing too hard to be angry anymore.
When Gooby was 7 years old, she visited her friend Emoji's house. While they were watching TV, Emoji's 3-year-old brother came upstairs and said to them, "Is the man in the coat really going to burn the house?" Emoji asked who that was, but her brother just said the man in the coat. As soon as she took out her phone to call the police, Gooby smelt something burning. They both ran downstairs to find the whole kitchen on fire. When the fire brigade arrived, the child told them, "I'm going to join his cult one day and burn kitchens too."
At the first grade talent show, Pringle and his class performed a song about animals, and he had to say, "I like ducks." Unfortunately, he had just lost 2 baby teeth a couple of days before, and he had kind of a bit of a lisp. When he said the line in front of the entire school, it sounded just like, "I like bucks." Luckily, none of the parents were there, so that's good.
While their parents went out, Nixium and his brother were left with an old woman. She didn't let them go outside or even feed them. At one point, his brother hit him, so Nixium hit him back. The babysitter grabbed a knife and chased Nixium around the house with it. He ran as fast as he could out of the house and to his best friend's Derek's house, where his friend's mom served him ice cream. Nixium called his mom to tell her what happened, but she didn't believe him and told him to go back home. When he returned to his house, his babysitter said in a demonic tone, "Come here." She proceeded to lock him in the basement, which had a lot of spiders. As soon as he remembered that his brother was still upstairs, Nixium managed to quietly get the door open and tiptoed up to the stairs to his brother's room. He grabbed his brother and ran out the house once more. Their parents were pissed at them for running away. They still don't believe their story about their mean babysitter.
Pandora's parents were particularly cruel with their punishments when she was young. One time, she was in a huge amount of trouble, so her parents devised an unusual way to teach her a lesson. They filled the home swimming pool with a mixture of maple syrup and concrete, and then threw her into the middle of the pool. It was like being stuck in thick mud, and luckily she could stand in it. 2 long and grueling hours later, she managed to climb out. Her parents thought it was so funny that they threw her straight back in. Pandora was well behaved for a long time after that.
One day, Nixium went to his friend's house to play kickball in their huge backyard. The friend lived between 2 train stations, so there were train tracks just outside the fence. Nixium and his friends were having heaps of fun until Nixium accidentally kicked the ball over the fence. He volunteered to go get it and climbed the fence, However, he was in such a rush that he didn't notice the oncoming train. He grabbed the ball just as his friend shouted, "Train!" Nixium couldn't see it, but he could hear the train was really close. He threw the ball over the fence and climbed back into his friend's backyard as quickly as possible, spraining his ankle in the process. Other than his ankle and some scratches, Nixium was unharmed, but it could have been much worse. Since then, whenever the ball went over the fence, they left it. They ended up losing 5 balls that way.
Civil Spider came across a homeless guy in a grungy button-up shirt and black slacks. He was holding a sign saying, "IT guy down on his luck. Homeless, hungry, God bless." Civil Spider felt sorry for the guy, so he bought an order of pancakes from a nearby McDonald's and taped a $50 bill to the inside of the styrofoam container. He handed the homeless guy the pancakes and said, "Enjoy." Instead of being grateful, the homeless guy threw the pancakes on the ground and shouted, "Fuck you, I need cash, not fucking pancakes." He stomped all over the pancakes while cursing at Civil Spider. Civil Spider calmly picked up the $50 note, which was now covered in maple syrup. He then threw it at the man and said,
"Don't spend it all in one place, asshole."
This was the last time he helped a homeless person.
About a year after I got out of high school, I was with a lady friend one evening, telling her about the experiences I had had on our recent vacation in Europe. It was really late at night, probably near midnight, and we were walking around out in the woods together because, we're brave like that. Well, it began to rain in the middle of our talk, so we decided to take shelter in an abandoned house in the forest to avoid getting wet. Well, we went inside, and let's just say that getting out of the rain wasn't the only thing on our minds. But suddenly, we heard a noise deeper in the house. We froze, and suddenly, from out of the shadows, an old man stepped forward with a long beard and looking like the purest definition of a hobo. And he just stared at us. He didn't say anything. He didn't move. He just stared at us as we stood there, and he never moved from the hallway. After a brief standoff, me and the lady friend just slowly backed up, and we made our way out of the house, quickly making our way back to my car and getting the hell out of there. And then we went home and banked. To this day, we both still refer to that hobo as the old man.
Just a week ago, Pandora got paid $10 to accidentally get into someone else's vehicle instead of her friend's. She got into said accidental vehicle, and the male driver, who was in his late 30s and pretty unattractive, turned to her and said, "You may not be my wife, but I'd gladly trade you in for her any day," while his children were in the back seat. They looked shocked, and Pandora was speechless as she watched the guy's wife walk out of the local department store. Pandora quickly exited the vehicle and got into her friend's car and watched as the wife yelled at the husband for a solid minute before they left. She was so embarrassed, and it was not worth the $10.
When I was 15 years old, every Friday my mother would take me to the local Denny's, and I'd get the usual pancake, eggs, hash browns, and bacon. It was this time in particular that it was my birthday, and because it was my birthday, my parents told the waitress, "Hey, it's Pringle the One's birthday." So after the meal, they brought me a cake and they sang to me, "Happy birthday to you." And I was thrilled. I was like, yes, a cake. And it was a chocolate cake. That made me even happier. So as soon as I put my fork into the cake, I started having a seizure. I started shaking and freaking out and spazzing out, and I put my head right into the cake. After that, the day went on by, and I woke up from that crazy seizure I had. My parents were like, "Are you okay, Pringle the One?" And I was like, "What happened? What flavor was that cake again?" And they told me it was chocolate. And then I was like, no wonder I had that seizure. Very embarrassing moment though, because I kind of woke up crying a little bit, and everybody saw that. They were like, "Oh, it's okay, but it's not okay when you're just 15 years old."
In 7th grade, Captain and his class began to celebrate after taking a test. He was very shy, so he didn't have any friends. As a result, he felt lonely. He was so lonely that he wanted to get everyone's attention in some way. Just then, he got an idea. He stood on top of a desk in front of the classroom and yelled at everyone to look at him. Once all eyes were on him, Captain started to dance like a chicken and rap like one. Everyone laughed. Proud of himself, Captain began to climb down from the desk where he lost his balance and fell on his face. The fall made everyone laugh even harder. Captain couldn't help but laugh as well. Since that day, he became the class's second class clown.
On Ramona's 21st birthday, her friends insisted on celebrating with her, even though she really needed to stay home and study. She gave in though, and they went to a party. Her friends told everybody it was her birthday, and suddenly she had an endless supply of drinks. The next thing she remembered was waking up naked on an inflatable raft in somebody's pool the next day. On her phone were videos from the night before of Ramona setting fire to trees, spray painting a kitchen, and jumping off a house into a pool completely naked. Unsurprisingly, Ramona's friends never invited her out drinking again. One time, back when I was a teenager, I walked over to my friend's house to ask him if he wanted to go skateboarding with me. Now, I didn't knock on the door or ring the doorbell. I just walked in, because I've done this tons of times. I mean, he's like my best friend. So I step into his living room, and well, on the couch is his mom and his dad. And, yeah. They were, doing some stuff. And I was like, oh. So I opened the door, and I walked out with them staring at me. His mom was kinda hot. Now, this might not sound all that scary to you guys, but to me, this was terrifying. My family and I were taking a road trip, and we were passing over the Colorado mountains on this extremely foggy morning. We rounded a corner, and there, standing in the middle of the road, were about 20 deer who just stared at us, unmoving and unblinking. Their eyes were large yellow orbs from the reflection of the headlights, and I felt as if they were staring into my soul right through the fog. After about 10 minutes, though, they finally did run off. But those eyes... I'll never forget those eyes.
So Dolan's brother worked at an Arby's, and apparently there was this guy who called to ask if they could deliver. Dolan's brother said no, and that would be fine and dandy if he stopped. But no, he called every day asking if they delivered. Dolan's brother always said no. Then he'd call again and ask in a shitty accent of some sort, and he'd tell him again,
This is an Arby's. We don't deliver.
When his manager picked it up, the guy calling asked in a dumb accent, Hey, do you guys deliver? His manager replied no, and we have a caller ID. We know it's you, so stop! He didn't call back ever again, but this had gone on for like 2 weeks. There's an abandoned house next to Emoji's house that him and his friends decided to break into because they were bored. As soon as they walked in, it was filled with porcelain dolls. This was already fucked up enough, but when they explored the rooms, there was a skeleton of an animal and a bedroom. After they saw this, Emoji and his friends decided to get the hell out of there.
One night, Ladybot and her boyfriend went to a party. They were having a great time drinking and dancing, until Ladybot's boyfriend had a little too much to drink. They decided to call it a night. When they got into bed, her boyfriend passed out, but Ladybot couldn't sleep. Halfway through the night, Ladybot's boyfriend suddenly sat upright. His eyes were closed and he was still half asleep. Out of the blue, he ripped Ladybot's blanket off her and threw up in it. He then laid back down and passed out like it didn't even happen. The next morning, Ladybot told him what he'd done, but he had no memory of it at all. To this day, he still feels really bad about it.
When Dolan was very young, he became hooked on a game called Dragonvale, which he played on his iPhone. In the game, players had to take care of dragons, breed new kinds, and expand their land to make room for more. Is this an advertisement? One day, Dolan figured out the password to his parents' iCloud account and decided to memorize it. He noticed he was running low on dragon food and he really needed more. He figured that he could borrow $100 from his parents' iCloud account and keep it a secret. On another day, he ran out of dragon food again. What a shock! It's like the game was made to prey on children. Anyways, he secretly bought another supply of dragon food for $100. His parents only found out when they got the bill, and understandably, they weren't too happy with him.
I didn't think you'd notice,
was Dolan's excuse.
On Spider Palm's third date with his girlfriend, Princess Proton, he went to her house. While they were watching a movie, her ex started texting her, telling her he still loved her and wanted her back. She texted back, Hey, this is Princess Proton's boyfriend. What up? Then she handed the tablet to Spinal Palm to take all the crap he wanted, and even let him go as far as to arrange a fight. Neither of them heard from him again.
Once on a bus ride, Dolan was sitting in between his two best friends. Dolan jokingly had a theory that they might be aliens, so he asked them questions that only the real people would know. They actually took it seriously and started fighting about who Dolan had asked more questions to. They managed to squeeze half an hour of fighting in about this, and then they refused to talk to each other for the next 2 days. One time, Hellbent went to a public bathroom to take a leak. As he stood there at the urinal, an old guy came in and stood right next to him. The old guy just kinda looked over at Hellbent and said, "That's so nice. Even after seeing it 27 times, I can't help but be impressed." That was the fastest that Hellbent ever peed in his life.
One time, Gooby went on a date, except the guy brought his friends and his little brother along. They went to an indoor laser tag place and played for a while, and then the guy's little brother was swapped for one of her teammates. Now this kid was at least 6, but he was the most volatile and disrespectful kid she had ever met in her life. He wouldn't listen to a single order she gave him. After a while, Gooby ended up slapping the kid straight across the face. Then, once they got done doing that, they ate pizza at the same place. The kid intentionally put his chair next to hers. He had 0 manners. This kid shouted, reached across the table, burped in her ear, and leaned so when he farted, it was towards her. Gooby knew she should have beat the shit out of that kid.
One night, Pringle was trying to cook some spaghetti and meatballs for himself when he realized his stove was broken. Being extremely drunk, he decided to use his father's grill to make them. Pringle heated up the grill as he put down the meatballs and noodles. He left it running for 20 minutes as he played a game. When Pringle headed back with a spatula, he ended up scraping off the remains of the coal black food and just stared at it. Pringle threw it away and ate some tacos with pepperoni, sausage, and gummy worms in them.